stand here for our federal.
He said it was sickening. He just said that. He just said it was sickening.
It must have the last word. As I told the White House in no uncertain terms this morning, the federal government cannot be trusted to lead this investigation. The state will handle it, period. Let me say something else, and this is critically important. All of us understand what happened this morning and the tragedy of it, and my deepest sympathies to the family of a 37-year-old Minnesota resident, a lawful firearm concealed permit carrier, something that I've been lectured to by Republicans for decades. That is not only right, it's your duty. We know that the potential to further inflame tensions is high. And to Minnesotans, there's a difference. We want calm and peace and normalcy back to our lives. They want chaos. We cannot and we will not give them what they want by meeting violence with violence. Minnesota and our local law enforcement, as you have seen, have done everything possible to de-escalate. Local media has reported extensively on the cooperation to de-escalate this situation. Donald Trump, I call on you once again, remove this force from Minnesota. They are sowing chaos and violence. We've seen deadly violence from federal agents again and again and again. But in contrast to that, on these frozen streets, what you witnessed yesterday was the best of Minnesotans, peacefully exercising their First Amendment rights. And I attended in the church basement hundreds of Minnesotans from all faith packing care packages for families that have been ripped apart. Despite the horrific acts by this federal government, Minnesotans are standing up for the rule of law. They're protesting loudly and urgently, but peacefully. It must stay that way, Minnesota. Minnesotans are witnessing, and we're creating a log of evidence for the future prosecution of ICE agents and officials responsible for this. They're helping their neighbors, they're walking their kids to school, they're feeding families. I salute their courage and their restraint, and I call on all Americans to see the decency that this state is exhibiting and the horrific cruelty, unprofessional, absolute abomination that is passing for what these ICE agents are doing on our streets. They think they can provoke us into abandoning our values. Well, they're dead wrong. We'll keep the peace, we'll secure the justice with our neighbors, and we'll see this occupation ends. Minnesotans and Minnesota law enforcement that continuously is being denigrated by this administration will continue to be the adults in the room, the professionals in the room, the decent human beings in the room that will keep the peace. With this, I'd like to turn it over to Department of Public Safety Commissioner Bob Jacobson to update you on the situation as we know it.
Thank you, Governor. I'm Bob Jacobson, Commissioner of Public Safety for the Department of Public Safety, and again, it's my honor to serve in that position. A man was shot and killed this morning in Minneapolis. I want to pause and remember what cannot get lost in this moment. A man died. His family and friends are feeling unimaginable heartbreak and trauma. And I know Minnesotans and I know our community will rally around this man's family and friends to support him. I also understand clearly that people are upset. They're scared, they're confused, and I want to assure you that this state's public safety officials and our local law enforcement partners are doing everything in our power to get answers, to help return a sense of normalcy back to our communities. You have the right to demonstrate peacefully. We recognize that demonstrations are often driven by strong emotions, beliefs, and a desire to be heard. But please, please remain peaceful. And I want to say it again because it is important and it is critical. Peacefully demonstrate. By doing so, you help local authorities to get answers. You help us to do our investigations. By remaining peaceful, you help ensure nobody else may be killed or injured. The thousands and thousands of people who gathered yesterday in Minneapolis prove that Minnesotans can make their voices heard peacefully, and they can do so without violence, and they can do so without destruction. And state resources are available and ready to support our local law enforcement partners as requested. And those resources include the Minnesota State Patrol, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, and the Minnesota National Guard. With that, we'll stand for questions.
Andrew with Carolina. Governor, you made this request before. Is there any reason to believe that it would be answered differently? Have you had any conversations with the president, with the federal government, and is there any indication that they are going to pull out or back down?
Well, I spoke twice this morning, shortly after I received the call of this shooting. I spoke with the President's Chief of Staff, and first request was to get her people out of there, to get these federal agents out of there. They were going to cause more chaos. And second call is, with no uncertain terms, that we will investigate this. We will not be stonewalled. What we've already seen, and you saw it this morning, before any investigation is done, you have the most powerful people in the federal government spinning stories and putting up pictures, and unrelated people who we don't know anything about, and a picture of a firearm to try and spin a narrative. And I ask Americans, this will end when enough Americans say this will end. Do I have any confidence Donald Trump will do the right thing? No, I don't have a lot of confidence Donald Trump will do the right thing. I do have a lot of confidence that the majority of the American people will do the right thing. And I think there cannot be very many people across this country looking right now, after all the reporting that's been done, after everything that's been said, under the pretense that they are here about immigration reform, and quit referring to these people as law enforcement. They are not law enforcement. We have law enforcement who do an incredible job. And to listen to Greg Bovino denigrate the work of our people who are out there cleaning up their mess, no, I don't have a lot of confidence that he himself will do it. But here's what I do have confidence in. There's a whole lot of Republicans, for whatever reason, cannot find their spine. But they might find the ability to know that they're not going to win another election as long as they live, unless they stand up for what's right, and stand up for the rule of law, and stand up for human decency, and that's the moment.
Just to follow me.
Same way with this community around here, various people that thought that they was going to provoke me into, or my brother and I, towards stepping beyond the line. Because we'd already had their DA up here in Dresden say, well, I'm waiting for blood to get on the floor. Well, it didn't matter if my brother and I pursued blood on the floor, pretending to us taking the law into our own hands, or it was our blood. They was sitting up there waiting, playing Yankee Doodle Dandy in dereliction of duty, that didn't give a damn about the Jackson family that was going through the misery that they was going through at 430 Beach Grove Road or 291 Thompson Road, Sharon, Tennessee, zip code 38255.
As I've said, exercise your First Amendment rights. Speak out. Bear witness and document legally.
Amen.
But I understand the risk in that. And I understand the courage that it takes to have people out there doing this. Thank God we have video. Because according to DHS, these 7 heroic guys took an onslaught of a battalion against them or something. It's nonsense, people. It is nonsense, and it's lies. So my confidence is this, Minnesotans. You know who you are, and you demonstrate it every single day, and we damn sure know who these people are. The American public knows, and this needs to be the event that says enough. Go ahead. No, I'm up front.
Don't nobody trust the federal government.
Has there been any suggestion that ECA is not allowed to?
We love our country, but we despise our government. And I said government with governments with an S.
Related to whether or not the BCA
Local,
is on the ground
state,
currently
and
with the
federal.
investigation. and a reference to previous investigations that the BCA have attempted to be a part of. What I'll tell you right now is that we no longer have BCA agents or public safety, state patrol, or Minneapolis on the ground at that crime scene.
Is that an instruction by the federal government, or did you pull your agents out?
What I will tell you, and not to get further into the investigation, but DHS pulled out of the scene.
Hey, look, they finally got a helicopter in the air.
Minnesota State Patrol, Minneapolis, does not have enough resources to be able to hold.
5 hours later, they finally got a helicopter up in the air.
That scene because of the number of people that were available and the safety.
Maybe it's a drone. I don't know.
And the safety of our teams. We were able to get there, but at that time we were not able to hold that scene to do a crime scene investigation. I can't talk anymore about those details.
If not either DHS nor state officials right now.
We'll have more on that, but the BCA is engaged and involved, and we are working at the request of the Minneapolis Police Department on this, on the scene and in this investigation. So we are there, we're available. We want to make sure that we continue to work on this and engage with our federal law enforcement, but at this point, we don't have anything more to share about the crime scene. Again, we were not able to hold it. We wanted to make sure and keep people safe. But federal law enforcement left the scene and left us there.
Governor Ernesto was in here, and have you activated the National Guard? I noted that Sheriff Witt has requested for additional assistance. Can you tell us whether they're going to be playing a role?
Yes, the answer is yes, we have, as we said last week, and we staged those troops. I'll have General Menke talk about where they're at, and again, use this as an opportunity to stress to Minnesotans the frustration you have, and as you saw this, they killed a man, created chaos, pushed down protesters, threw gas indiscriminately, and then left the scene, and then we're left to clean up. I understand the anger. I understand trying to parse who were the law enforcement on the scene when you got there after a man was killed is difficult for folks who are out there. But I can't stress enough, our goal, and I'll have General Menke talk about what the role of these Guard troops are in conjunction with incredible work from the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, from mutual aid across, and of course the State Patrol, of trying to get to the point where what we're saying is we can handle this and Minnesotans can express their First Amendment rights and have our folks on the streets and get these people out of here.
What they need to do, I think, is form a boycott, go to Washington, D.C., around the White House with 18-wheelers and just sit there and basically create a stagnated event to the degree that couldn't nobody get in and couldn't nobody get out until this is settled with the President of the United States one way or the other. But I still believe they ought to round up various administrations in the past that has allowed for this to get in this kind of shape. That's my feelings. They shouldn't be attacking their own community, pretending to burning their buildings and doing whatever. Of course, I'm pretty sure you're going to have loose screws out there that's going to attempt to do ain't no telling what. But what they all should do is load up, head to Washington, D.C. Well, I know that's a pretty good drive from Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Probably a day and a half, 2-day ride. And I realize the weather's cold right now, but what they ought to do is formigate when the weather breaks, weather gets more presentable, head to Washington, D.C., and create a boycott. If they're going to get their message across to the President of the United States. If not, they're just spinning their wheels as far as I'm concerned. Oh, yeah, they may get some media time out of it, but look at the people that's getting hurt and injured. Look at the businesses that it's causing chaos in that area that probably are at the verge of already declaring bankruptcy. Now you have this happen. They just got through getting over George Floyd deal 5 years ago.
We'll be billing the federal government for the cost of the National Guard because they are incurring the costs that are falling on us by their reckless actions. Yes, sir.
You alluded to this earlier, but are you rejecting the narrative that has been presented by federal officials that this man, this 37-year-old citizen man, was posed a threat to these agents? And are you rejecting the idea that he played some role?
I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're going to beat the horse, you need to beat him on the right end. Don't beat him on the wrong end. Beat him on the right end. Don't attack your own community pertaining to what's going on here. Go after the people that make those decisions in the federal government. Where do they live? Where do they work? What are they doing?
I'll go back to what we talked about before. They're telling you not to trust your eyes and ear, not to trust the fact.
I'm really surprised that the agriculture community over here hadn't risen up pertaining to what Donald Trump done with the tariffs pertaining to now the agriculture communities are hurt. I'd take Caterpillar tractors up there. I'd surround the White House and the Capitol building up there and double dog dare them to take a shot at me. I'd sit there until this got settled. I would sit there until this got settled, or it'd cause chaos in the land. Now, that's my personal feelings. I don't want to see nobody hurt. I don't want to see nobody get torn up over this, but I'm telling you right now, this is out of control, folks. This is way out of control, and if you're waiting for good citizens to arise to your defense, you'll probably be waiting a hell freeze over, because I was waiting for that too. My brother and I here in Northwest Tennessee, and we never did see no action. We never did see no rallying type movement here in this area. None. Zero. Even to this day, zero.
To critique the police chief of Minneapolis after what work that those heroic officers are trying to do, and to be critiqued by this guy, I mean, I don't know, I've said it a lot, but America, as you're listening, enough is enough. Enough is enough of this. End this. End this. And we see them moving to Maine. If you're in Boston, you're in Chicago, you're in Philly, you're in Miami, it doesn't matter.
Come in near a neighborhood near you.
We can't live like this. Our children are in trauma. A 5-year-old, you saw the picture, the bunny hat and the Spider-Man.
And that's exactly what happened to my brother and I. We was traumatized for 3 consecutive solid years until finally my brother gave up the ghost. And then to top it off, less than 10 days later, they come after me for traumatizing me again. Because we had missed the very court date that we set up for to begin with, because my attorney didn't let me know when the court date was. That absolutely said it in court. Mr. Jackson, it's not his fault, Your Honor. I failed to let Mr. Jackson know when his court date was. But yet, no, I was in cuffs. Why wouldn't I have admitted to a crime so I could get the hell out of there? Because they was going to play this slow song and dance the same way they did in Trigg County towards keeping me for almost a year over 2 non-threatening telephone calls. Why wouldn't I plead guilty so that I could get out of that environment? Anybody would. Their bullshit rules is a bunch of bullshit as far as I'm concerned. As far as, if you plead guilty, that eliminates you from being able to come back at the county or come back at the state and sue us. That paperwork needs to be ripped up, torn up, and burnt in front of them. Because so many people has gotten caught up in scenarios to the degree of damned if you do and damned if you don't. And then you start weighing out, well, which is the lesser of the two evils? And it's like, well, hell, I'm 60-something years old here. I just need to go ahead and plead guilty. Or 50-something years old, I just need to go ahead and plead guilty and go home. Who gives a shit about my record? Who cares? Because I know that the real record is going to be the record of God. That's going to be the real record. All these assholes down here that's creating all this chaos and doing what they're doing by not doing what they're supposed to be doing or whatever, that don't mean a thing. In the eyes of God, that don't mean a thing. You can falsely accuse us. You can provoke us. You can do whatever you want to do to us down here. But eventually, the real record is going to be the record that stands. And that will be the record of God. That won't be the record of man.
We do it because we want a safe Minnesota, and the federal government is not the only one to do that.
All right, you're hearing it, a frustration and sadness coming from Minnesota state now officials, the governor, as well as the public safety commissioner there. The Governor Tim Walz, saying it's a campaign of brutality against our state. His words describing the federal approach to its immigration policies there.
There has to be a better way of going about doing this
There's
other
been
than
a
violence.
law enforcement killing of a man, and then they just walk away without having accountability and investigation, and as he specifically said, and not clean up your mess. To both of you, Radley, you first, and then Brendan, do you believe that this will be investigated properly and that answers are forthcoming as to the truth of what has happened?
Probably not.
I think it depends on what what the federal government does. I mean, if they continue to limit state and local police access to evidence, and they continue to collect evidence and then put up this firewall, it's going to be very difficult for.
Well, as long as you got citizens in America that don't give a shit, as long as it's not bothering them, as long as it ain't coming home to them. But I got news for you. It is coming home to them. Eventually, this is going to come near a neighborhood near you, pertaining to the chaos and the activities going on. That started right here in Northwest Tennessee, going back 30 plus years ago. This will come. And eventually, you will care. You may be caring too late, but eventually, you will care about public opinion. And you will care about true justice and how it is served and why it is served and who it's served from. You will care. I promise you that. And it may be in the hereafter life whenever you do care, but eventually you will care. Yes, sir. You will care.
Is now being used against them. I think conservatives need to ponder that.
And the fact that you mentioned he was rendering aid to somebody, he was described as a registered nurse, so that would make some sense. Last word to you, Brendan, and all this. What are your expectations, very quickly, on how this is going to play out? Will we get final answers?
Yeah, I expect that state and local law enforcement will conduct a thorough investigation here. Obviously, we can't have any trust in federal law enforcement here.
No.
Very quickly, I'll just say, I expect, if past this prologue, local FBI and U.S. Attorney's Office prosecutors are going to be asked to do some pretty extraordinary, perhaps unethical things. And I would tell those employees, it's important to do the right.
I tried to warn my followers or my citizens pertaining to those that want to keep up with some of the video that I make, that in order for him to go about doing this the way that he's talking about doing this, he was going to have to strong arm the citizens. There's no doubt. People that's over here illegally should not be over here illegally. But now the damage is done. Now, basically the water's done been poisoned. You know what I'm saying? And to go in and rectify this way by doing this strong arm approach, you're creating more havoc and you're doing more damage than you're doing good. I've said that from the get-go, and I'll continue to say that. And it's just a sad scenario that the American people, as well as our Congress, as well as our state representatives, has allowed for this to fester and get this far out of hand. I'm going to hold them accountable. Just like I'm going to hold the bunch up there in Dresden, Tennessee, pretending my brother dying. I'm going to hold you accountable for this. I may not can do it in this lifetime, but in a lifetime to come, I will hold you accountable for David Jeffrey Jackson's death. And every one of the people that come down here terrorizing us, trying to provoke us, are vandalizing our property during those 3 years. If you think that you have done that to get away with it for bragging rights or whatever, off of a dare or whatever, you got another thought coming. Just like the Neal family over in Kenton, Tennessee, they'll be held accountable for what that they should have done towards mentoring an individual that was very compassionate and very dead set in the things that had happened to him pertaining to two hands miraculously coming out of heaven that saved my life in 1983. Not counting what happened to me in 1988. They'll be held accountable for this. As well as those that followed in pursuit, that wanted to get out here and scar and mar and assassinate my character the way that they did. That'll be fine. I can live with it. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go to the final court. I'm ready to meet my executioner. Are you? Are you? That's the question. Are you? I know I am. I want to get out of this hell. I don't want to play no part of this evil demonic world down here that's unfair and unjust. Good luck to all of us. God bless America. God bless our troops, and God bless our endeavors towards which way we go from this moment on. Shalom.